Let me tell you of the days of high adventure.
Hello, I'm Eric.
And I'm Kevin.
And this is 6 Degrees of Schwarzenegger, the podcast where we take a long, hard look at some of our favorite action movies from the era of Arnold.
Schwarzenegger is the icon of the genre, and we're taking a deep dive into some of our favorite cult 80s, 90s action movies and breaking them all the way down.
We are at part 3 here on They Live.
This is a super culty action movie as well.
Yeah.
It really is. Like, as much as any probably culty action movie that we've ever done on the podcast.
Yeah.
This one is like, I'm sure it's got the super fans. You
Oh
know
my
what
God,
I mean?
I can only imagine.
And it's one that not everyone has seen. It's just, it
Yeah.
was not as mainstream as a lot of the Rambos and the...
This is an interesting bit of trivia that came up from multiple locations, actually. One of which was an interview with Keith David that I watched, but also just general, like nerd reviewers.
Okay.
It was number one the first 2 weeks that it came out. Like,
Yeah.
right? And then disappeared.
It was out of theaters.
Just out of theaters.
Yeah, I
It was
saw the same thing.
Crazy.
Almost like they were the powers that be were like,
Shut it down. Shut
enough.
it down.
Get this out of
Yeah.
theaters. We weren't expecting anyone to watch it. Now
Yeah.
that they're watching it, we want it out of theaters.
It was weird because like no one ever, if a movie is number one at the box
Yeah.
office 2 weeks in a row, they're not taking that out
You're
of
not
theaters.
bumping that off screens?
No way. No
That's
way.
nuts. Yeah, it was,
So that was
wild.
like a really odd bit of trivia. And at first I thought it was just, Keith David is, this was a movie that was done 50 years ago or whatever, with, 25 years ago.
No, but I saw a bunch of people said the same thing.
Yeah, a bunch of people contemporary, yeah, it was great. And then it just disappeared.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was like wacky, man.
That's interesting.
Super
It does make you
wacky.
think that there's like, the I'm sure the distributors, Universal, the people at Universal, all of this are like, no, we're big pro-capitalists.
Yeah.
Like, fuck this noise. We don't want people starting to think about these things.
Well, I mean, it's not like this is a unprecedented kind of thing. I mean, admittedly, this movie came out years later, but Idiocracy, Mike Judge spent so much of the movie just making fun of all the corporate sponsors that 20th Century Fox made deals with, that Fox tried to squash the movie. They tried to make it did not come out at all, but they were contractually obligated to put it in theaters for X number of days.
Okay.
And so they did it to the minimum of their contractual obligation.
Interesting.
And immediately pulled it from theaters.
There's always some crooked shit going on with these. This was another thing that came out recently, like the Goodwill Hunting thing where they yanked it out of theaters.
Oh, I didn't know about
Even
this.
though it was doing very well, right, in theaters. It was a surprise hit, doing very well. And there was some sort of a deal with Robin Williams that if the movie had hit some sort of threshold of money made, then he was going to get some sort of massive bonus. And like the Weinsteins said, yank it. Like, yank it. We can't have it hitting 100 million or whatever it was, because then we're going to have to pay Robin Williams another $10 million or something. Like, we'll pull it from theaters at 97 million.
Right, exactly.
Or
So
some
maximize
bullshit
our
like
profits.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so fucked up.
It's so
and the
fucked
thing
up.
about David Prowse, Darth Vader, never almost got paid because the way that Fox cooked the books basically was like, you'll get paid once the movie's broken even. And but the movie's never broken even because Lucasfilm is charging us billions of dollars to distribute it, and so we're not really making money off of it, so you don't get paid anything. There's a whole documentary about how David Prowse got fucked.
Yeah, big time.
In that, and it's wild, man. Scenes are fucking wild, but anyway.
Well, you want to catch us up before we start part
dude.
3?
So this movie, we're in an alternate present, I guess.
Yeah,
In
I'd say
which
so.
things are really hard times out here. There's a lot of working poor. Seems like the rich are living very rich. The poor are living very poor. Our main character is this guy, Nada, who is a drifter. He's arrived in Los Angeles. He's found himself a little work doing construction, befriends a guy, Frank, gets himself sort of ingratiated in this homeless camp, realizes that some of the people from the homeless camp are involved in some sort of conspiracy. He's not sure quite what it is. But the police show up and fuck everybody up, beat the shit out of a lot of people for no reason, level the whole homeless camp for no reason. He goes back to the scene, finds like a box full of sunglasses, and he's like, well, this is weird. He throws a pair of those sunglasses on and realizes it sort of opens your eyes to what the world really is, which is that all of the billboards and everything like that we see is actually like commands, obey, consume, sleep, and his eyes are just magically open. It's blown his mind a little bit. That's kind of where we're at right now. I feel like this movie was, when I was watching, I was like, this shit is like The Matrix before The Matrix came out.
You're not wrong.
It's like a similar plot where it's like, what if I told you that the world is not at all what you think it is?
Yeah.
Here's this symbolic, here's these sunglasses, this red pill.
Yeah.
Take this and you're going to see what the world really is. This is going to fuck your whole like worldview up.
Yeah.
At this point in the movie, I was blown away. Seeing it as a new viewer, But I was getting heavy like Matrix parallels in a very, I mean that in the most positive possible way. So I think The Matrix is fucking great, the first one. But I think that I could see The Matrix like took some inspiration from this movie. Everyone's like living in this. They think they're free, but they're not free. They're living as like servants to some master that's unknown, unseen. Yeah, dude. I'm hooked on it, man. I love this shit.
Well, the craziness hasn't stopped. It's only begun. Okay. So shortly after he's seen that massive tableau that we talked about at the end of last week's episode, he finds himself.
It's like the whole city is billboards
covered in this, and LA is a city that is covered in billboards.
Every city is now, probably more so than others were back then. But now it's like, what are the other movies where everyone's getting like personalized ads? Was it the movie AI or something?
Minority Report.
Minority Report.
Yeah.
Like you're wearing these glasses, and it's just like ads tailored to you everywhere.
Yeah.
We're on our way towards that, right?
There's no question.
It's like your phone is like literally just tailored ads because your phone's listening to you all the time.
I've been like talking about taking a trip to Ireland recently, and I was talking with my friend, and we were sitting there just like sharing a bottle of wine, talking about Ireland.
Yeah.
For the next 3 days, all of our targeted ads were about taking trips to Ireland. It was just ridiculous.
A year ago or something, I was mattress shopping.
Yeah.
And like nothing but mattress ads on everything, and I'm like, I'm not Googling this shit. Same thing when my buddy John, who used to host the podcast, he recently did a trip to Scotland. I recommend everyone go to Scotland. But when he was going to Scotland, I started getting nonstop Scotland ads. And I'm like, this is some fucking shit, man.
That is crazy.
Yeah, dude. This is not unrealistic.
And so Nada, having had his eyes blown way the fuck open, finds himself at the newsstand, and I loved this newsstand.
Dude, the production design on this shit was dope.
I mean, we haven't even gotten to the grocery store yet, and we will get to that in a moment. But every single item on the newsstand had some other one of these mind control slogans on it.
Yes.
And it was as densely packed as you imagine a newsstand to be. It's awesome. It's so much fun to look at.
Now, does this mean that every little business like this is being run by someone who's collaborating, or are they unwitting? You know what I mean? Are they unaware that because like every bit of, there's not one magazine that's not been corrupted by the bad guys.
Right.
It's kind of like, are they running all of the media and all businesses?
I think that they're running all of the media.
Okay.
But I don't think that the people in sort of the last mile purview are necessarily aware of it.
Because we see we'll get to it. But like not everyone seems to be an actual like creature.
Exactly. And we do talk about that later. Now, at least with this particular newsstand, I don't think that the guy running the newsstand was a part of the conspiracy. I think he was just
He just throws the magazines on the rack.
Exactly. He's just looking to get his payday so he can feed his family, right?
Sure.
And so he's not thinking about it beyond that. But anyway, so the rack, it's this great moment. I mean, I would have loved to be a prop master, a production designer on the set of this movie.
Yeah.
So much fun.
Yeah.
But he grabs any just random business magazine off the rack, and he flips through it, and it's more the same, right? It's just like from cover to cover,
right?
It's just propaganda
every page,
right?
Did you notice when they were like showing him the background? There was this golf magazine that said "Let TV Teach You."
Yeah, I did. Yes, that's right.
The cover story that was like a real magazine cover from the time. I was like, that's amazing. There was a paperback back there that was Edgar Case on ESP, and it was like this dude. It basically sounds like whatever the fuck Peter Venkman was in trying to do in Ghostbusters, like. To make a racket out of like psychic, anything paranormal, parapsychology, whatever the fuck that shit is. Or like what he was doing at the beginning of Ghostbusters 2, like hosting a show.
A weird show.
But it was kind of a hustle.
Yeah, it was totally a con.
Yeah, like that's what this Edgar Case guy is. But I think also like the whole like parapsychology plays into the movie. Like this is the production design. People were having fun with the props.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
And so as he's looking at this, some stranger walks up to him back to Nada and says, "What's your problem?" At which point,
which is kind of unnecessarily aggressive. Nada wasn't doing anything to this
guy. He was
guy.
Just reading a magazine. Shocked, but he was just reading a magazine. So Nada looks up and he sees like one of my favorite creature designs. I love the way the aliens look in this movie.
Yes.
So cool.
It's shocking, but it was like very simple.
Yeah.
It almost looked like Castor Troy when he had his face off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it would look like almost like what a human would look like if the skin was removed from their face.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But it's so effective. And because it's in black and white too, it just makes it seems to make even better. And
you get like a Night of the Living Dead vibes. Yeah.
Straight up. And the thing that I love about this though is Jeff Amata, the stunt coordinator. Yeah. He's in this movie constantly from this point forward.
I got a tribute to Jeff Amata prepared for like later in the thing. Okay. But yeah, Jeff Amata is an amazing movie guy.
Amazing guy.
If you don't know anything about Jeff Amata, go Google him and read about his career and his life. It's amazing. But he's from that Al Leong, James Liu, like the Asian guys who are pigeonholed into being like stuntmen and Asian thug and stuff like that, you know. But he's made himself an amazing career.
Yeah.
And I got a whole like I stand for Jeff Amata, so I got a lot written in my notes for later on. But
we'll get to
Jeff Amata. That's just a tease. Shout out. He is an MVP in this movie for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah, without a doubt. So, can't even. He's so shocked and. Piper's response here is pretty dead on. Like, what would you do if you like looked up and saw a weird alien? Right?
I think I'd be like in just stunned silence.
Yeah, exactly. And that is what Piper does.
Yeah.
And the alien walks away. So he takes his glasses off and it looks like a normal dude, and then he puts them back on and it's the alien again. So we're figuring out what's going on, right?
And the dude who's running the newsstand
he still looks like a human though, which is important, right? Yeah,
for sure.
So we know that not everybody's an alien. That there are that these are interlopers, right? So we figured that out, right? So the creature, the weird alien thing, looks back at Nada suspiciously, right? As he buys the paper, and then he takes his newspaper, and then he walks over to his car.
I think it's like a Mercedes or something.
It's a really, really super rich thing. The only thing, I'm just going to nitpick here because we do this from time to time. Presumably, all of the aliens see all the propaganda for real, right?
One would think so, yeah.
So why does this guy buy a newspaper?
That's
if
facts.
The only thing that's actually in there.
Okay, true.
Right? Okay,
true.
I mean, it occurred to me. Now, admittedly, it did not occur to me the first once or twice that I watched it.
No, I didn't think about it. I haven't seen it enough times to get there.
It's been years later.
What do you want with this bullshit?
Yeah, why do you care about this? Right, exactly.
I wonder what they see. I wonder what they read, how they entertain themselves in this world.
It is a really interesting question, given that all of the media is controlled by them with the intent of controlling, the human population.
Sure, yeah.
But anyway, so it was just sort of like that was a weird tangent I went on. But so the guy running the newsstand then goes, "Hey, are you gonna buy anything or what?" Right. At which point Nada notices all the stacks of dollar bills that he's holding in his hand, and I love it when he puts his sunglasses back on. It changes from the dollars to "This is your God," and I'm like, "Oh,
shit's amazing,
so good,
that shit's amazing,
so good." So Nada puts the magazine back on the rack. Is like, "No, man, I'm moving on," and he leaves. So At which point he starts walking around and he starts. And so, okay, this is another nitpick.
Okay.
So I guess like putting the glasses on like pulls the wool off of your ears too.
Oh yeah.
Right? Because
no, that shouldn't have been.
Yeah, because it pans up and we start hearing the word sleep.
Let's say what it is like it's blocking that signal.
Okay.
So maybe it's blocking it to your whole
To
your
all of your
whole like
brain.
nervous system.
All right. Okay. That's enough. I believe it.
Yes.
I'm in. I'm
This is a
convinced.
movie that's easy to forgive the little
yeah.
things. Yeah.
Fun factoid: the voice saying "sleep" is John Carpenter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like who was it? Was it the score guy who said like we recorded it, slowed it way down, and it got deep. Yeah, that's nice.
But yeah, so the black and white camera pans up, and there's this weird satellite dish saying "sleep" over and over again over the air. He's walking down. He turns into a hair salon, and he sees human women interacting with creatures. The alien women, they're all getting their hair done. Then there's like this really rich alien woman who's like just go to the Lamaze class. You should just go to the Lamaze class. And
that was weird to me. That I wasn't sure what the meaning was supposed to be.
So for me,
they're like loading in just bags and bags of shopping like shit they had bought.
Yeah.
But it was like, is that John Carpenter saying like, I feel like this Lamaze shit's all just a racket.
I suspect that's part of it, but it was just like it was the lady and her sister or
something,
and then clearly like an au pair or a
who looked completely like dazed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So clearly this was a one of these rich, powerful aliens, completely oblivious to the suffering of the people around them, like talking about her bullshit problems that have no meaning to anybody else, right? Because it's just Lamaze. I remember Lamaze being all of everything growing up. Like I would hear
do people
Lamaze
still do
constantly.
that? I mean, I don't have a kid,
I actually
so I
don't
know.
even know, right?
I feel like I guess it's useful. I think
I don't know, but it's
maybe at the time, regardless of whether it's useful or not.
Carpenter was sort of like,
this is a fucking cult bullshit.
Exactly. I'm certain that it was the reason why he was specific about that.
You don't have people have been having babies for centuries without that shit.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm certain that's where his headspace was with that. Whether Lamaze
and now it's like, no, you have to spend money to go to a Lamaze class to learn how to breathe while you're having your kid.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, bitch, we've been doing this for millennia.
Yep. And I'm certain that's exactly where his headspace was.
Sure.
So. Favorite set in the entire movie?
Yeah.
The grocery store.
They said it was the most expensive set in the movie.
The entire movie.
I imagine, because you had to fabricate everything you're seeing.
Because every single prop, every can, everything on the shelf
said some little shit on it. Some little detail. Yeah.
Crazy. I mean,
it was amazing to see.
It was so cool. And at this location, it's like half alien, half human.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, so it's like a real even split at this point. And there is not a legitimate piece of product in this place. Every
is amazing
can
and they
bag,
had to build it twice, right? Because they had to have one version that had all real products, and then replace everything with the like the conform products. Yeah, it's awesome shit.
This was apparently done on a soundstage. This wasn't an actual grocery store. They apparently they scouted a grocery store, tried to film it there. And they just couldn't. It was too much work to replace all the actual product with the fake product.
I can't even imagine how long this took to make this set.
It's from an actual economic standpoint to do this scene. They actually just built the grocery store, so they had complete control over all of it.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, it was without a doubt the most expensive shot in the whole movie. Totally worth it. Totally worth it. So there's like a human guy in the store who's complaining to one of the creatures about not getting that big promotion at work, completely oblivious.
That he seems unaware that his coworker is not a human.
Right, exactly. Completely unaware of this, right? Then there's on the TV, there's another one of the aliens delivering a very Reagan-esque campaign speech.
Before we get there, there was also these two like women creatures that were gossiping about how someone at some dinner party had served blue corn tortillas and how tacky and outdated.
Oh my God.
That's so tacky and outdated.
That's right.
And it's just like, it's just like pushing this consumerism shit.
Yeah.
But then we got the TV ad.
Yeah. The guy on the screen, he's talking about this campaign message, And he's saying that people need to have faith in their leaders and they need to choose optimism over pessimism and just accept the way that things are. And
he used the line like, "It's morning in America," which was a big like Reagan thing.
Yeah, it was a huge Reagan thing.
It's utterly meaningless.
Nope, doesn't mean
anything. It's a thing that means nothing.
Yeah.
But it makes you feel something.
You can put it on the TV, on a T-shirt.
It really does. It evokes some sort of a reaction of like optimism.
Yeah.
And I went to YouTube or whatever and found that campaign ad and watched it, and it is like a carbon copy of the shit that was on the TVs earlier, like just patriotic scenes.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a morning in America, and I'm like, it does. It makes you think of like things are going to be better. Like this is a bright future that we have, but it's literally just nonsense.
No, it's absolute nonsense. It's just political jargon. I mean,
it makes you. It's propaganda.
Yeah,
it's like brainwashing bullshit.
Yep.
But it works.
Yep, absolutely, it does.
That motherfucker won in 2 landslides.
That's right.
Even as people were becoming poorer, they're still voting for him. It worked.
The man had stage presence.
He did.
He had stage presence.
Rambo liked him, and he liked Rambo.
So.
Wasn't where we're going, we don't need roads or whatever, that shit from Back to the Future? Wasn't that another Reagan thing?
Was it? I
think so.
idea.
I think like where we're going, we don't need roads or something. I think that was a Reagan thing too, or something that maybe George Bush as vice president said famously.
I don't know. Yeah, that I did not know. So he's watching this campaign ad, and he's just completely transfixed by this alien speaking on the TV and a woman in this.
I love when he's watching it and he's like, he gets this big shit-eating grin on his face. He's like, it figures it'd be something like this.
Another great line from Roddy Piper. He
sells it. Roddy Piper sold that shit.
Yeah. And so while he's doing it, some like woman bumps into him. She's wearing this like expensive ass fur coat.
Right. Excuse me.
And she's like half as tall as him, right? I mean, he's towering over her, but she's so entitled. And then he puts on his glasses, and she's obviously a creature.
Of course,
right?
yeah.
And oh my God, the insult from this shit. His first line, "You look like your head fell in the cheese dip back in 1957.
What does that even mean?
I don't even know what that means.
I don't know what it means.
It was just so hilarious, though.
She was mortified.
She was shocked. Absolutely appalled. And then he turns to another woman who's a human, and he goes, You're okay. This one, real fucking ugly."
I love that.
And then he's like, further exposits, "You see, I take these glasses off. She looks like a regular person, doesn't she? I put them on, formaldehyde face."
That's what we got. That's what we got. I loved that shit. That had me cracking up.
It was great. It was a great
formaldehyde face. That's what we got.
The clerk is like not having any of this.
But I reckon the clerk was a human.
He was.
I think he's either aware or he's just like, don't harass my customers.
Don't harass my fucking customers, dude. Come on, man. I'm just trying to make a living here. So he's like, get out of my shop or I'm going to call the cops. Nada stumbles over the display, which was an accident, actually, that John Carpenter decided to leave in.
Okay.
Yeah. And he thought it was appropriate. Apparently, so
I could see... If you're Nada in this situation, your head is spinning.
Yep.
Like, so I could see, but he seems also to just be maybe a generally clumsy guy.
Yeah. Well, so Carpenter said that like he thought it was appropriate at the time. Watched the movie years later, was like, oh, why did I do that?
Yeah.
Then watched the movies years and years later and was like, no, that was the right choice. So he came full circle on that one moment. But anyway, so as he's stumbling, the evil woman creature in the expensive fur goes, "We've got one that can see." And I love this. She's speaking into like a Rolex watch.
That was a great line delivery to whoever that was. We got one that can see.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, dude.
That was great. So he gets up and then he starts seeing all the other creatures who are also wearing these very expensive Rolex watches, which I thought was totally perfect and also unbelievably contemporary. Mm-hmm. Everybody I know wears an Apple Watch that you can speak into. Like, it just blew my mind, right? I mean, it's just like, this movie
that probably goes
so
way
prescient.
back to like Get Smart type shit as well, but James Bond, shit. But it is great that it's like gold Rolexes, I loved Nada. I don't like this.
I don't like this.
I don't like this one bit. No, not one bit. That's I feel like his internal monologue is coming out of his mouth.
It's like,
I don't like
he's
this.
so shocked he can't even keep it in. So he gets up and realizes that all the creatures are speaking to their watches. And
they're like
walking,
describing him, right?
Yeah,
like
they're
Caucasian man,
long hair.
Yeah.
And they're also like encroaching in on him, and so that's when he scrambles out of the market, right? So back on the street, the creatures, not the humans, but the creatures,
right,
have noticed him at this point, right? And there's one creature woman who's like sort of primping herself up, looking at a reflection in a mirror,
right?
I love this. Again, this is so good. Nada goes, "That's like putting perfume on a pig."
Nada's going in on these creatures.
He's really digging in deep. And then, but out of nowhere though, he's like shoved into an alley by a cop. And then another cop shows up in a police car, and they're both obviously creatures at this point.
Yeah.
So as they're like bullying him into the alley, they want to know where he got the sunglasses from.
He's like, the Tooth Fairy.
That's such a great fucking line.
It feels like Roddy Piper ad-libs, you know what I mean? A lot of this stuff.
So one of the interviews that I watched, apparently, like after Piper got the script, he keeps a journal of just things that he would like to say.
Yeah.
And he like gave that to John Carpenter, and John Carpenter incorporated a bunch of that into the script. So
That's
it
cool.
wouldn't surprise me. Yeah. So their ugly faces, and Nada asks if they cut themselves shaving, which is just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And the cop then says back to him, the alien cop says back to him, "You look as shitty to us as we do to you." And Piper goes, "Impossible."
That made me laugh out loud. That was a sick burn. Impossible. That was great.
Oh, it was so good. So the alien cops say this will go a lot easier if Nada doesn't put up a fight, because of course that's always the way it is. And he puts his hand on his holster. They suggest that, hey, maybe there's a way we can help each other out here.
This is probably how they recruit people.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And the lead cop, alien cop, says that look, why don't we go someplace private? We can talk this over, And Nada gives the impression that he's about to surrender, but the second the cop touches his arm, Nada fucking clotheslines him. Hardcore.
I love they were using wrestling moves, incorporating them into the action. That's smart.
So he beats up the other cop, takes his gun. The first creature gets back up, and it points his gun at Nada, but then Nada shoots him fucking dead. And he says, just so many good lines in a row here. "You bastards die like we do, huh?" So the other cop gets back up on his feet. Nada beats him to shit with a nightstick, and then shoots him and kills him as well.
So the things they're very mortal. They're easy to kill, kind of.
Right. They're not like gods or anything. They're just from a different planet.
They're as mortal as a human would be.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Sure. So he gets into the cop car, grabs a shotgun, and as he's getting out of the car, people are scattering because he's covered in weapons and ammunition at this point. Right.
He's got the nightstick. He's got their guns.
He's all around him. Yeah. Then all these cops start approaching. He's like, shit, I got to get off the streets. And he just ducks off through the first doors that he finds, and it just so happens to be a bank. And now he is accidentally robbing a bank.
This is the moment.
This is it.
I feel like on this podcast, we've talked about how certain movies, everything is building towards one moment of the movie. And I feel like, what did we say? On Point Break, it's all building towards when Gary Busey's got the meatball subs, it was like, Utah, give me two. Or Ellis and Die Hard at some point when he's like, Hans, Bubby. We feel like the whole movie is building towards that crescendo.
And here
this is the moment for this movie that everyone knows this. Even if you don't know I'll Be Back in Terminator, it's if you don't even know the movie, you know this moment because you've seen this shit.
Yep.
Yeah, dude, this is it.
This is where he looks at a bank full of humans and aliens and says the iconic line, "I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass." and I'm all out of bubble gum. One of my favorite lines.
That was another
ever.
Piper original.
It was.
Right?
Yeah. So when Carpenter was looking over the notebook that Roddy gave him, he saw that line. It was like, this is going in the movie.
Oh, yeah. This is perfect
absolutely going
line.
in the movie.
I have the Mandela effect about this line because in my mind, it's the other way, like where he's like, I'm here to kick ass and chew bubble gum. And then I was like, oh, he says it's the other way around. I'm not sure which way works better. Either way is a great line, but yeah, I'm just like, oh, I always thought it was the other way around. Like he said it in reverse.
As a kid who grew up playing video games, before movies.
You said Duke Nukem?
Duke Nukem 3D was the first time that I had heard this.
So
this
the
line.
character in the game says that
line
with the A word.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there was nudity. It was like
that game was
there was
an
so
MA
many
game or whatever.
So many politicians tried to get this game banned.
Really?
Like, oh my god, it was crazy.
What was that? A first-person shooter?
It was a first-person shooter in the vein of like
was it a PC game or was it on
PC?
Okay.
Yeah, and it was like more advanced than Doom was, but not quite where Quake was. So
okay.
I'm not going to go into a whole thing about
it.
But yeah, so Duke Nukem basically just stole lines from every action movie from the 80s and the early 90s. So he stole lines from like Army of Darkness, like "This is my boomstick," and then like "They Live," and I think there's a couple of lines from
Is
Aliens.
Is the character like just a fan of these games?
No. They just completely appropriated it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't like
made it like Duke
I'm
Nukem
an
was
action
saying.
movie junkie and I just do nothing but quote action flicks.
No, this was just the game developers loved these quotes and then just like made them quotes for the character.
Imagine watching this movie in theaters. I bet the audiences went fucking wild for this line.
Lost their minds. Yeah,
there was audible. Yeah. There had to be cheering in the theaters when he said that line.
Well, it is one of my favorite movie lines of all time.
It's amazing.
It is just I love that line of dialogue. Anyway, so getting back to the movie that we're actually watching, the creature bank guard. He's like the alien is one of the guards. He opens fire on Nada. And then just not immediately blasts him away with a shotgun. And then I don't know how many shells are supposed to be in a shotgun at any given time. I'm pretty sure it's no more than 3. There's way more than 3 in this guy's shotgun.
I think it could be up to 5 or 6.
Yeah.
I counted 9 shots, though,
just
at
goes
least.
And goes and goes.
And gruesome kills. There was like a lot of it was black and white, but it was like blood splatter in a big way.
And every single one of them was Jeff Amata.
Yeah, that's probably why, because that's like you need a stuntman to like put squibs on and shit like that. But
but anyway, so while he's like blowing away all the aliens, one of the creatures is talking into his wristwatch again, and he's like describing Nada once again. Nada turns to him, another just amazing line, "Mama don't like tattletales."
That shit was amazing.
Yeah.
I feel like there's probably another Piper line. Mama don't like tattletales.
It's gotta be. It's gotta be.
That's great.
So he like tries to shoot the guy, but the creature vanishes all of a sudden. And then Nada's like, "Whoa, what the fuck just happened?"
Right.
Like, super confused. But then the cops start showing up in front of the building, and Nada like fucking flees out the side door. And so as he's walking away from the scene, he notices again, like it's so prescient. He notices a fucking drone flying, a surveillance drone flying through the air. Like, I mean, drones were not a thing in 1988.
No, not at all. Yeah, that's great.
Not at all, right? So it was just it blew my mind. I'm like, oh my god, there's so many things that Carpenter kind of got. He sort of understood the surveillance state.
He nailed it.
I mean, it was really great. And so again, another amazing line. And who are you, little fella? Come to show him where I am? Not nice. Blows it right away.
Where was Nada getting all his swag from?
I don't know, man. But all of a sudden,
when he got those sunglasses on, he's like, "Fuck all this bullshit.
I am done with this nonsense."
Yeah, I loved all of it.
And it's at that moment you go back and you're like, this is the guy who said he believed in the American dream way back.
It didn't take a lot.
Right?
It didn't take a lot.
He was right on the precipice. So
he seemed to duck away. When he shot the drone, he seemed like he was ducking from debris, but there was no debris coming down. That was kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, I wonder if
they probably didn't have the money to add that in or something.
That's what I'm thinking. But by this point, another cop runs out to confront him, but it's just a regular dude. And so, Piper spares his life.
Yeah, we see he's only interested in killing creatures.
Right, exactly. Which, cool.
Yeah,
awesome.
That's how it should be.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, and in a weird way, it's sort of one of those save the cat moments where it's like, we just to be clear here, he's not murdering everybody. He's just murdering the aliens.
He's not a kill crazy psycho. He's he's killing creatures only, aliens only.
Right. And so to that degree, I thought, okay, that worked really well as just like to really establish what's going on. So I thought that this was the weakest transition in the whole movie.
Okay.
But now we cut randomly to a parking garage.
Right. Yeah.
And we just see a woman walking away from camera.
Someone a new character.
A new character. We're deep into Act 2 at this point. Like, why are we introducing new characters?
Yeah,
right?
It was a little, So
that's a minor complaint, but whatever. I'm willing to forgive because this movie is so great. But so her name is Holly, and she's walking to her car. We hear the sound of police cars racing past, but we don't see them because we're underground. And then Nada shows up, grabs her, and then forces her at gunpoint into the vehicle, right? And says, I need you to get me the fuck out of here.
Uh-huh.
And he puts on the glasses, and she is in fact human. Okay, great,
right.
Cool, all right. Tells her to drive, but don't go too fast. We don't want to draw suspicion. So she pulls out of the parking garage. Bunch of cars drive past, but she doesn't try to get there.
There's also just a lot of police running in formation.
I know, which was
that had me
hilarious.
laughing. I'm like, where are you guys coming from?
I'm like, why are you
miles away?
Yeah, I know. It's I don't understand how you were keeping up with these cop cars beforehand.
It was wild.
You're not keeping up with them now. I know. I saw the same
You're
thing.
in formation, you've been running. It was like drill camp or whatever.
Straight up boot camp.
Yeah, boot camp. Yeah.
So once the two cars drive by, and then 5 minutes later, the jackbooted thugs drive by in formation or march by in formation. She takes a right and drives in the other direction. Once they're clear, the sirens and things are starting to calm down. She tells Nada that the police are gone.
The police did a shit ass job of cordoning off the area,
right?
Because any person's just able to drive away. You're not stopping every car and searching.
Exactly. Set a perimeter up to 3 miles or whatever.
Exactly. Come on.
So I know the only excuse I can make is that it just happened too quick. That they were in the process of setting up the perimeter and they just didn't have time to set it up. I don't know. Anyway, he uncocks his gun. He starts to calm down a little bit, and Holly wants to know where she's taking him. He asks her if she's married, and she says yes. And he says, "Don't lie to me." And she admits that she's in fact not married.
That's where I noticed that Piper's he's massaging his temples or something, and he very prominently has the wedding ring on himself.
Yeah.
Which I was just oh, okay. I was just like you said from before, that Piper was a married guy.
Yeah.
That he refused to take the ring off for the movie, which is it seems amateurish to be it's acting, dude.
Right. It
doesn't mean you're betraying your wife for doing scenes. But what's also interesting is it's never explicitly said that he didn't have a wife.
No.
For me, I like to imagine that his backstory was that she might have been she might have left him for a rich guy or something. Maybe
that's possible.
She might have been fallen into the brainwashing or whatever, or like you said, she could have died.
Right,
we don't know.
Yeah.
But I like to imagine that he was married and he's like Riggs in Lethal Weapon, he still wears the ring because in his mind he's still married.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree with you. Regardless of what happened to his wife, in his mind it's not over yet, which is why he hasn't taken the ring off, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So he tells her to take him to her place. She says no. He insists. He's got the gun. She agrees. I mean, it's as simple as that.
Sure.
So they arrive at her modern Hollywood Hills house.
Place was dope.
Oh my God.
The house was amazing.
That was unbelievable. I think I've driven on that road. I might have driven.
Was that
by
up on Mulholland or something?
It's
probably.
Beverly Glen. I'm almost sure it was off of Beverly Glen or Mulholland.
Hollywood Hills are amazing.
Oh yeah.
I can't imagine the amount of money it would take to live there. But
I know.
Coldwater Canyon and all that.
You actually don't want to live there anymore. I've seen photos of traffic on those side roads now, just people trying to avoid the 405, and it is a nightmare.
Okay.
But yeah, in '88, I'm sure it was just absolutely gorgeous.
I think on the commentary track, Carpenter was saying this is one street over from where my house is. It's oh, good for you, motherfucker.
Yeah, I know. It's okay, well, you are kind of one of these.
You probably
aliens.
bought in before it was unaffordable.
Yeah,
even for a legendary director. I don't know if you could afford a mansion up there.
Not anymore. So, oh man, the cameo with her neighbors that just don't go anywhere.
That was weird.
It was a little bit weird.
You say cameos. Is it because
they weren't anybody I knew. They were just like characters that were introduced for 2 seconds.
They seemed to be like a gay couple, right?
Yeah,
like
clearly
bears. Like they were wearing like Hawaiian shirts, big beards.
Oh yeah.
And they seem to be a couple. Yeah.
Oh yeah, both of them. And so there's no question that this was like her gay neighbors.
Yeah.
Who just like, I guess they're also just busybodies, like the old lady from Bewitched or something.
It was strange though, because it, like you said, it didn't lead anywhere.
No, it went nowhere. They
were taking much notice of her returning home with a guy.
Yeah, and it's interesting because that entire thing could have been cut from the movie.
Yeah.
And they chose to leave it in. So it was
strange.
Weird editing.
I wonder if it was friends of Carpenter or who, like why it was left in.
That's why it's got to be a weird, like intentional cameo, because if I were an editor, like editing
this is the first thing we could cut out.
It's literally the first thing you cut out.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So anyway, they're suspicious, but they don't raise
because it does seem like he's sort of leading her in. He's got her grabbing her by the arm,
right? But there's no visible gun or anything like that. So whatever. Okay, let's go back and I don't know. Anyway, so that's done. You think it's going to come back? It doesn't come back. It's a weak moment, but
Right.
So they're inside the house. Nada starts like scanning the place over. It doesn't seem like there's anybody in here, so that's fine. He leads her over to the living room, and then he collapses in exhaustion all of a sudden.
Yeah, it seems like wearing the glasses takes a toll on you.
That's what it would appear. And so Holly goes like, well, what do you want? And he says, I just want some quiet. So he's wearing the glasses, and he says it's like being high when you're wearing the glasses, but then the come down is really hard.
Yeah.
Which, okay, all right, that's interesting. He apologizes for putting her in this situation, but said he absolutely needed to get away from the cops. And am I the only one who thought she was kind of getting off on the whole captive scenario here?
Yeah.
Because she seemed a little turned on.
She seemed like
by the whole situation.
You're in charge here.
Yeah.
I'll do anything you say.
I'll do anything
like
it was
her performance
throughout
from beginning to end is very like breathy, like sultry performance. Like, you're in charge here. I'll do anything you want, anytime you want.
Right.
Like it was just like very suggestive. Sort of. I'm
it's
it's turning me on.
I mean, I'm sort of going like, okay.
Then maybe it's just me.
I'm Roddy Piper, or rather, I'm Nada.
Uh-huh.
I just discovered an entire alien conspiracy going on throughout the city of LA and definitely throughout the world. I happened to kidnap the one chick who's totally into it. Can I get it up right now?
Can we also stop for just a second to say, like, Roddy Piper sounds like a porno actor name. Like Dirk Diggler. I'm Roddy Piper.
This is literally the beginning.
Piper? Come on, dude.
This is literally the beginning of a 70s era.
That'd
porno.
be weird. What if it was like a 45-minute lead-in to a porno?
The longest porno of all time. Oh my god, that's so funny.
There's one X-rated scene in the middle.
Her whole delivery of that line was just like, "Are you into this?
You sound like you're really turned on right now."
Right, exactly. So anyway, Nada then begins to try to explain to her what the situation is. Like, look, lady, we're in trouble. The whole world's in trouble. They're all around us, and we never even knew it. You can only see them with these special glasses. I swear to you, we're being controlled by these things. I don't know what they are, where they came from, but we've got to stop them. And this I love.
Well, one of his major problems is he struggles. He's awful at explaining the situation without coming off crazy, right? You're like, you sound crazy right now. Like, you could sound a little more calm and collected, and she might be more open to listening to you.
But he goes straight on the conspiracy direction.
Yeah.
But again, she kind of doubles down on this kink thing.
Yeah.
Because her response is, whatever you want, whenever you want, I'll do it. It's just like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, it was hot.
Yeah. All right. Well, okay. Like, look, again, I've had a rough day, but give me 15 minutes. I can calm down. So he insists that she's got to listen to him.
Listen up.
Yeah, listen up. And she repeats back to him, like, yeah. You're fighting the forces of evil that can only be seen through these special sunglasses. And he says, like, yeah. And you got to look through these sunglasses. And then she says that she will. And this is actually a really good line.
I thought so, too.
She says, like, look, I'm going to look through these sunglasses, and whether I see what you are seeing or I'm not seeing what you're seeing, I'm going to tell you that I'm seeing what you're seeing.
Right. It was like, no matter what I see, I don't want to know. I'm going to tell you, like, whatever you want to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. So I thought that was a really great line. You know, like, he gets it. Like, yeah, okay, you're fine.
Fair.
He doesn't try to convince her, and then he almost falls asleep.
I feel like it's been a long time since this fucker slept.
Yeah.
Right? Because he didn't sleep the night of the raid, I imagine.
No.
And the night before that, even, it was the night he was up until 4 in the morning watching this fucker. He's probably slept like 2-3 hours in the last like 72 hours or something.
Exactly. I mean, he's got to be exhausted.
Plus, I think, like we said, like wearing the glasses.
Yeah.
I feel like it takes a toll on you physically.
Yeah, absolutely.
Psychologically.
And so he's sort of seems like he's starting to fall asleep. Holly like quietly stands up, and he's still aware though.
Right.
And he says like, "Don't fuck with me."
Yeah.
So she calms down. She's like, "Look, I'm thirsty."
She's
like,
very
right.
thirsty.
Yeah,
like in multiple ways.
So thirsty. Very thirsty. And so he's like, "Okay, go get yourself a drink." So she grabs a bottle of wine and a glass.
I like that she's like, I don't want a glass of water. Like I need something to take the edge off right now.
Look, a woman after my own heart is all I'm saying.
Yeah, right.
So she pours herself a glass, and then at which point Nada says, "Like, I'm sorry, I have to be here at all. This is not what I wanted." And he asks her name, and her full name is Holly Thompson.
He's like, "That's a pretty name."
Yeah.
Like now all of a sudden he's like, let me try to see if I can work the angles here a
now
little
I
bit.
get there. Right, now that I'm starting to come back in, I'll be good. Interestingly, she's the only character who has a last name in the entire movie.
Oh, that's wild. Okay.
Yeah.
You got to wonder why. But
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. But and he asks her. So he asks Holly Thompson what she does for a living, and she says that she's an assistant program director at Cable 54. Oh,
yeah, I don't feel like that's a job that pays enough for this house.
Yeah, definitely not.
Things might have been different back then as far as how much that property cost.
Not anymore. But so he pops to his feet. He goes to the TV to explain to her what's going on.
Right.
It says that they're sending the signals through the TV. At which point, this is a pretty strong move.
Yeah.
Like she fucking bashes him in the head with this wine bottle, and he goes right through the window.
That window gave away real easy, didn't it?
It was super easy. It was not. I was like, I am not having any part of this. It just shatters. He falls all the way through, tumbles down to the ravine, winds up in the street below.
That was a great fall and stunt work there.
That whole sequence was phenomenal. Then, as he's stumbling away, we cut to Holly back on the phone saying that, yes, she's all right, and then giving her address. Presumably it's 911.
Right, who's she talking to? We don't quite know. She seemed very calm. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. So, Nada gets to his feet. He's definitely fucked up.
It's amazing he's not more badly injured.
Right.
Considering what he just went through.
Yeah.
It seems like he's hobbling, like maybe he tweaked a knee or something, but otherwise he seems more or less fine, I guess.
He limps his way to some other random person's deck.
That was an amazing shot.
What a shot.
On the widescreen. Like
you see the downtown LA.
Yeah, downtown skyline. Yeah, that's amazing.
Oof, it was, and that's like, I watched an interview with the cinematographer, and he said like that's one of the reasons he loves shooting in anamorphic.
Yes,
because you can take these simultaneously epic and intimate shots at the same time.
Yeah, that was a great shot.
It was a really, really phenomenal shot.
That's the shit when you were watching your VHS version, probably from Blockbuster. You lose all that.
You lose all of it. It's all gone, right? Yeah, you don't see any of downtown LA in that shot. So back to Holly as she's holding the phone. She sees the sunglasses that Nada has left. Right. So she sees them and you're like, oh, that's interesting. At which point, the police cars begin to arrive. Then later, it's after dark, and Nada's stumbled back into the city at this point. He's crawled into an alley. He like crumbles up into a corner, kind of holds himself. Like it's a very kind of vulnerable moment actually for this character.
And you could sense that it seemed like it felt like it was cold as hell.
Oh,
like he's like, and I imagine those LA nights.
Yeah. And you hear that perpetual like copter drifting overhead, the sound of the copters drifting overhead again.
Yeah.
And we fade to black, and this is a real turning point in the movie at this point.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. So now he's lost his glasses,
Where's he
gonna go from here?
He doesn't have Frank. He's lost Frank. He thought, he's been like thrown
maybe
out of the window,
ally with this woman. No,
that's not happening.
Yeah, he's on his own.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Okay.
Then we're going to cut it there for the night, everybody.
Oh,
no, you have to come back for more.
That's cool. That's cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Leave them one more.
Yeah, we can do this. We can do this. But yeah, so we'll be back again next week with part 4 of They Live, and we're looking forward to see you soon. We'll be back.
We'll be back.